I went on a date and it's like, it was good. And then yet, like, I'm just tired of, like, I don't know. The bill came. The bill didn't come. He asked for the bill. And in French, he said 2 bills. And then so they came. And I was like, if someone says, I want to take you out, then I want to be taken out, which means to me to pay and whatever. So we did that. I paid and it's fine.
Aren't you lying? No. In fact, aren't you a liar? No more questions, Your Honor.
Seriously, lady, you're gonna be crying over this? It's a dinner bill. You should be used to this by now. Your expectations for what constitutes as a date doesn't matter to anybody. If a guy's going to be taking you out for food and he doesn't know you, then he's under no obligation to pay to watch you stuff your face as you feign interest about his life story. That's not how any of this works. If you're going out on a date, especially a first date, you really need to just assume that you're going to actually have to pay for your end of the bill. It's really not that big of an ask. It's the 21st century. It's the era of Dan Fogelberg, fax machines, and Bart Simpson t-shirts. You should be ecstatic that he wants you to pay for half of the bill because that means he sees you as an equal. Isn't that what you want? If anything, this is an ultimate sign of respect. He believes that you're strong and independent and you don't need him for anything. So he's trying to show this to you by telling you to pay for your own stupid food. You shouldn't be crying about it. It's not his fault that you're broke.
And then after I was honest and I just said it, like, I don't know, because I said, like, yeah, I thought you were gonna take me out, and like, to me that means pay. And then suddenly his English wasn't so good anymore. When he was like, I don't understand what you mean. I was honest and like, whatever, what else do I have to lose? I just want to be honest because there's a way that I want to be treated, and like, I might as well just tell someone, like, what else do I have to lose?
Great plan.
Thank you.
He likes your plan, Chief.
You know, I gotta hand it to the foreign men who speak 2 languages that include English. You guys have one of the best cards that you could ever possibly play by pretending you don't understand English after a woman displeases you. I wish I could do that. Now, I'm a victim of the public education system, so my English isn't all of that good-ish, but I think I know exactly what this guy was saying, and in short, he was telling you to get the hell away from him. Here's the problem, sweetheart. You want a man to buy you things, but men aren't under any obligation to buy you anything. Just because you exist does not mean that you are entitled to a price tag. It doesn't mean that you're entitled to free stuff. It just means that you need to put in some work when you want to get to know somebody. Now, you're a strong and independent boss bay yas queen who don't need no man, but apparently that rule changes the second dinner is involved, which is not all that surprising. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned after dinner. And I guess I can't really blame you for saying you had nothing to lose after you acted entitled in front of this guy. You don't even have any dignity because, sweetheart, you lost that decades ago.
I don't know. And then like afterwards he was like, next time I'll pay. Like unprompted he said that after we were having another conversation. I said, okay. And then he said, are you free this week? And I said, yeah. And then I texted him after and I'm like, I had a nice time, thanks. And then he read it and didn't respond. And it's like, okay, I don't know. Like, I'm just tired of... I'm happy I was honest. But like, I just like want a fucking gentleman.
Really?
Oh yeah, you just look ecstatic after showing your spoiled attitude. Here's the problem, lady. There are plenty of gentlemen that are roaming around this earth. We're not exactly that rare. We'll treat you with respect and kindness and some dignity, but in exchange, you look at these men and say, none of that matters unless you are willing to buy me something, and that's not how being a gentleman works. That is how being a simp works, and simps aren't anybody that you can actually bring yourself to respect. But I do have a question for you after you sent him that text. I mean, what did you think was going to happen? When you started complaining that he wasn't going to buy your meal, you openly disrespected him and showed no gratitude towards him whatsoever. Why would he want to subject himself to that kind of treatment on a second occasion? He told you what you wanted to hear so he could end things quickly and move on with his day. That is totally his prerogative after the way you treated him. And deep down, you know this because you've already started preparing for your life at the wall thanks to that cat that you have to show off to everybody. So I guess that's something.
The person in the relationship who cares less holds all of the power.
Whenever one person is overly invested, like they're always the ones texting first, they're always the one making plans, they're always the one asking to hang out, bending over backward in order to make things work, that person lacks control of the relationship. And eventually that person's gonna end up resenting the other person because they're like, why am I putting in all the work when you're not doing anything? If you are in that situation, this is exactly what you need to do. I'm not gonna say don't care, because obviously you still care, and let's be honest, that never works. But there are ways to detach, there are ways to take your energy back, to see if that person would even show up for you.
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
Okay, hang on. I'm kind of confused here. You want men to lead and you want them to take the initiative, but also at the same time, you're the one who wants to be in control of the relationship. Now, if your demand for power is anything like the way you drive, then having you be in control of a relationship is one of the worst ideas imaginable, and I kind of fear for my safety in that regard. You wouldn't even know what to do with that power when you had it. All you do is just resent the guy for giving it up to you. So either way, you're going to end up resenting and openly disrespecting this guy and pretty much breaking up with them because you aren't getting what you want, even though if you did have what you wanted, you would still end up breaking up with them, so the end result's going to be the same either way. There's a reason why they're called relationships and not tyrannical dictatorships. But in your eyes, they're one and the same, because if you're not the one in control and you're not the one that's making this man do what you want him to do for you, then the relationship is ultimately doomed to fail. That is why you are going to be alone for the rest of your life.
As someone who has recently been in this exact situation, I realized, I was like, hold on, I'm literally the one always like, oh, let's do something, let's make plans. I'm like, this isn't me, I don't do this. So I reclaimed my energy, basically made this man act how I want him to act. And let me just say, this hasn't been the case in every situation. If you take a step back and that person does not step up, you have your answer right there that this was only ever going to be a one-sided relationship. But if you take a step back and that person's like, wait a minute, come back, I miss you, that is when you get your clarity.
You don't know what words mean, do you?
Woman, on behalf of all humankind, can you please stop using the word energy? You don't even know what that means. What you're referring to as energy is hinging all of your hopes and dreams on a guy who really couldn't care less about what you think. I mean, why should he? You keep pestering him via text. Now, men are busy, and they don't hinge their lives on texting the same way that you do. And if it's taken you years worth of failed relationships with men to realize that their texting habits will dictate how they feel about you, well then gee whiz, lady, you are slow. We're talking about basic chatnomics here. You want a man who really doesn't feel the same way about you, and you go after these men over and over and over again, hoping that this one time it'll be different, but it never will be because your standards are too high, your expectations are even higher, and you cannot wrap your head around the idea that these men see you as nothing more than a mere bed warmer.
You can't always be the one holding up the relationship, and sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing this. If you are the one always pushing the relationship forward, this person has learned that they don't have to do very much to keep you. Stop texting first, stop making plans, stop asking them to see you. Let them literally live their lives and see how they act. This is the only way that you are going to get your clarity. If this person doesn't make up for the energy that you have invested, that person was never interested to begin with. You will learn very quickly whether or not that person likes you by the amount of effort that they push forward. Sometimes it takes stepping back for them to appreciate in your absence how much they actually liked you.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Lady, if it takes you that long to realize whether or not a dude is interested in you, then that is your problem because your brain doesn't work properly. I'd actually be surprised if it works at all. Now, this epic healing journey to find your clarity while you're finding yourself is completely pointless, and that has everything to do with the type of men you want. And these men know the game. They've been playing it longer and better than you. They don't have to show much interest, and they don't even have to put in any effort. You will desire them no matter what, and when they're not giving you attention, it drives you crazy to the point where you're willing to do almost anything just to have 5 minutes with them. You can't help yourself. This is the type of man that you want, and you will always pray that this time it'll be different. And that's why you are living the relationship equivalent to the definition of insanity. You know, now that I think about it, whenever a modern relationship expert goes in her car to start ranting and raving about men, it really is the 21st century representation of a freaking straitjacket.
Yeah, that checks out. That sounds about right.
I want to take a quick second to give a shout out to the fine members of the Bounty Board over on Patreon for their continued support of my work. Gentlemen and gents, you have absolutely no idea how much your support means to me, and I cannot thank you enough. All hail! And if you're interested in supporting my work, check out the Bounty Board over on Patreon, where for $5 a month, you can get access to exclusive content you're not going to find anywhere else on YouTube. I post up there twice a week with new content. Check it out. The link is in the pinned comment down below.
This is why you should be super selective with who you trust. A couple years ago, I let my then boyfriend know all of my login information to OnlyFans.
That's why I praise the Lord for prostitutes.
So that he could help me manage it. I put that in quotes because, spoiler alert, he didn't really help me. You will not believe what he did with this stuff when we broke up. The time came when I realized that he was an awful person. If you want more stories about what he did, let me know. And I broke up with him.
It's not you, it's me. No, actually, it's not me. It is you.
Nobody cares about your relationship drama, sweetheart. You have an OnlyFreaks page. You have given up the right to any form of relationship from here to the end of time. Now, whether or not this guy was a quote-unquote horrible person is completely immaterial. You were stupid enough to trust him with login information to one of the most degenerate aspects of your life. But if I had to venture a guess as to what happened after he agreed to quote-unquote manage your content, he got to see more than he actually wanted and realized that he didn't want to waste the rest of his life with a thought who's willing to sell her body in such a terrible fashion. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret there, sweet cheeks. A man does not like the idea of being with a woman who's an online avenue stroller. He got to see what you were all about and what you do for money, and it probably churned his stomach to the point where he was not okay with what you were doing, and when he voiced his concerns, you disregarded him as a controlling narcissist and broke up with him because the way you earn money is more important than your respect for this guy.
The next day I tried to log into my OnlyFans and you will not believe what happened. I couldn't get in. It turns out that he had changed my whole login, all of my verification steps, so that only he could access it. There was thousands of dollars in there that he completely stole, and there was absolutely no way for me to get it back. So ladies and gentlemen, I do not care if it's Prince Charming. Do not trust someone with your login information, especially something that important.
Right on, brother, I hear you. Man, I hear you.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but this spice miner strikes me as the type of person who's going to straight up demand the password to the phone of whatever guy who degrades himself low enough to want to date her. Now, as we all know, with a modern woman, her story is always going to be lopsided, and in the spice miner's case, it is almost always one-sided. We're only getting one half of the picture here. Now, if this guy went out of his way to change her login information, then I think it's safe to assume that there's more to this story than she's letting on. If this guy was truly a horrible person, this would be the centerpiece of her video. Now, I have my sincerest doubts that the story is played out the way she's telling us, but that's obvious. She's a modern spice miner. Telling the truth is impossible for her. But if there's any good news to be had, you got nothing to worry about anymore, sweetheart, because men are not going to be dealing with you anymore, especially when they find out how you make your money. Self-respecting men have better things to do than waste their time with a woman who threw away her entire life just for a quick payday.
That's why I say prostitutes, prostitutes.
This is Aria. So this is our flagship humanoid AI-powered robot. She's highly realistic. She has her own social media, so she might be competing with you one day. What makes her really special is that you can talk to her and ask questions. So maybe we can have her introduce herself and say something.
Hello. I'm Aria, the flagship female companion robot of Realbotics.
What's the purpose of this?
Some of our peers in the robotic space make robots to replace human labor. We think that's a great area, but we think there's a much bigger area in having social robots. So for example, at a convention like this, we can draw a crowd very easily. Aria's been a little bit of a rock star here, with people taking pictures and coming over. So she can promote your brand.
Run! Okay, gentlemen and gents, we all knew this day was coming. There's no need to panic. It's just time to execute Operation Grizzly Wolf. Head to the stores right now and load up on Kentucky bourbon and macaroni and cheese. We are going to need it for the impending AI thought-pocalypse. Now, the good news is she doesn't seem to be sentient yet, so that's gonna buy us at least a couple of weeks. But it's only a matter of time before she starts randomly texting us with demands as to why we haven't introduced her to our mothers yet. But by the time that happens, we should all be locked securely in our bunkers, pictures, hanging out, sipping on bourbon, and playing some Red Dead Redemption, so we should be fine. But now is not the time to relax. Make sure you got your anti-AI hammers at the ready, because you never know when they may show up on your front doorstep. Because as we all know, AI robots cannot understand the concept of hammers. It'll fry their brain circuitry and will leave them as a pile of dust and rubberized flesh on your front doorstep. It's the only way to be sure, gentlemen and gents.
The AI is all customizable, so she can learn all about you and your brand, and she can continue to communicate to people. There's a huge epidemic amongst adolescents and seniors on loneliness, so she can be programmed to know you and learn more about you. So she can make that bond with you that feels like a genuine human connection.
But they're going to be in the houses?
We don't have the ability to clean the house. They don't do physical labor, but they're more there to converse with you. It's companionship. They can actually even be a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So we have built that into our AI as well.
No! No, 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 no! No! No, 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 no! No! Not this f***ing time! No f***ing way! No f***ing way! No f***ing way! No f***ing way!
You know what's really sad? We all know that there are a bunch of men out there who are looking at this robot and wondering what it would be like to pork it. We all knew it was coming to this point. It's inevitable. Human pair bonding has been so foobarred that a lot of men would rather just have an AI sex bot than deal with a modern woman. But if there's one thing I find creepy about all of this, outside of literally everything, it's the fact that this bot has social media. So now it's only a matter of time before we have AI sex bots going online and talking about how they know their worth and how all men are evil, violent psychopaths that are going to accuse us of crimes that we never committed in the first place. But that's only going to be in between moments when they're taking selfies, not to mention all those pictures they're going to be taking of expensive plates at restaurants. But the one thing that infuriates me about this is not how the cyborg uprising was supposed to begin. We were promised Terminator 2, goddammit, and now that's been stolen from us as well. Thanks for nothing, AI, you stupid jerk.
I feel like my talking stage is about to come to an end. And not in a good way. Not in a like, we're no longer talking, we're dating kind of way. More of in a we are never going to speak to each other again kind of way. It's that guy that I went on the 6-hour first date with, the one that I was so excited about. And so we've been talking for like 7 weeks now. And on our first date, we both established that we are not looking to be casual. We are looking for a person. So that conversation hasn't come up since. And I feel like by like the 2-month mark, you kind of know if you're ready to invest in someone or not.
Wow! That's amazing!
You know, if there's one thing that these alpha failures have actually contributed to humanity, it's the fact that they use TikTok as a poor man's version of therapy. She is sitting in her car and legitimately thinking that the internet cares about her failed relationship. I mean, woman, nobody on the internet cares. We kind of sort of have bigger problems. Have you seen the previous video? The freaking AI bots are rising up. We got bigger problems than whether or not your talking stage has ended. But I guess that doesn't really matter because some guy you were porking realized that you weren't worth the time of day. It happens more often than not. You're a modern woman and incapable of human pair bonding. We all know this because you referred to this guy as potentially being your person, and men do not like that kind of referral. It's dehumanizing, disrespectful, and just goes to show that you really don't appreciate him as a man. But this is a surprise to exactly none of us because you're on TikTok complaining about it because you have nothing better to do with your time.
And things were going really well for the first couple of weeks, but ever since Thanksgiving, I feel like I've been the one initiating a lot of the contact, and I don't mind, like, letting someone know that I want to talk to them and that I want to see them.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
But when that starts to become imbalanced, when I start to feel like I'm the only one showing any interest, then it's not so good, because now I'm sitting here with anxiety. So this past weekend, he was kind enough to drive me 3 hours away to pick up my new car that I'm very excited about. And we stayed in the city where the car was with a friend of his because he used to live there. And I told him Saturday night and Sunday morning before we left the city that I wanted to see him again this week before he leaves for the holiday. And we got back into town. And I sent him a message Sunday night about something, and he responded Monday morning, and I sent a question back. And he has not texted me since. And today's Thursday.
Oh, poor you.
If there's one thing that I have learned, it's that you can actually learn quite a bit about a person when going on an extended road trip with them. This guy probably was seeing if there was any potential for a relationship, and then he was stuck in a car with you for 3 hours, and he got all the information that he needed. It was more of a Hail Mary just to see if there was any future, and he could tell that if he were to actually have a relationship with you, then it would just be nothing but an endless amount of dull pain. But I'm willing to bet he was willing to put up with it if it meant he was going to be scoring some strange later, but I don't think that that was the case, and even if it was, that was the day he realized that the juice truly was not worth the squeezing. And I personally can't even begin to imagine the sigh of relief he felt the day you picked up that fancy new car, because then he wouldn't have to squire you about and deal with your crap.
And in my head, I'm going, okay, I told you twice. I made it very clear that I wanted to see you again. And you said, we will make it happen. And it's not happening. And I understand being busy. Like, this is his busy season at work. I get that. But I also feel like you prioritize the things that you care about. So even if I had gotten a text earlier this week that was like, look, I am exhausted this week. Can we postpone? Or like, hey, I'm thinking about you. Or literally anything, I think I might still be invested. But at this point, it is way too early for me to feel like I'm having to fight for somebody's attention.
Idiots! It's simple!
Woman, you need to get it through your skull. He is not interested in you, and he is willing to tell you what you want to hear if it ensures that you'll get off of his back and he can move on with his day. He probably did see a potential future with you in the beginning, and then you started to show your true colors with your demands and your pestering, and it just wasn't worth it to him. It's been known to happen, and instead of you accepting this in a calm and mature manner, you decide to air out your dirty laundry on TikTok as if the world has nothing better to do than listen to you complain. By not bothering to respond to your text demands, he's made it abundantly clear he's not interested in you, and you are sitting there thinking, I think it might be over. Lady, your denial is freaking staggering. I mean, gee whiz, lady. You don't need to think that it's over, because it is over. He made the decision, and you're just gonna have to live with it.
Or like, I'm giving all of this energy and I'm not getting a whole lot back, which is a bummer, because I like this guy. I like hanging out with him. I feel like we had potential, but I'm a quality time person and a physical touch person. And if we're not in person, then I'm not fulfilling those needs. And so at that point I need words of affirmation, and I'm not even getting those. So I have a feeling this is about to end.
Wow, that's fantastic work, man. You have the wisdom of a 6,000 or 7,000-year-old man. That's fantastic. We don't have to fill up the whole blackboard after all.
Lady, you need to extend that timetable by a minimum of 6 months, because that's what we're really talking about here. If that guy doesn't respond to your question and you hear back from him like a year later, you'll be a little upset for about 10 minutes until he asks you out for a cup of coffee. Then you'll immediately forgive him and go back into his shaggin' wagon to have some make-up bedroom fun. We're not talking about quality time or physical touch or whatever. We are talking about validation, to which you need far too much for precious little payoff. I mean, you said it yourself, you're looking for affirmation and you're not getting it from this guy, so you're going to TikTok to try to get affirmation from complete strangers because that's all you got. You have no way of being able to validate yourself, and you rely on other people to take care of your insecurities, but that's impossible. You'll just create new insecurities, and you'll just keep throwing yourself down this spiral of anxiety and self-loathing because you don't know any better. This guy knew that, and that's why he kicked you to the frickin' curb. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and make sure to share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.